Ling Han's only feeling now was that his luck in this life was unbelievably, illogically great. In his last life, although he was an ultimate warrior of heaven tier, whether it was the godly medicine or the strange fire, he had not even managed to see either of them. But in this life, he was only in the sixth layer of element gathering tier, and he has already seen both these extremely rare items, and had even managed to obtain 3 roots of the godly medicine. If he could also manage to make this strange fire his own, Ling Han's heartbeat sped up in spite of himself. The strange fire could allow him to concoct alchemical pills of a higher grade than he could at his current cultivation level. The extremely high heat of the strange fire could also become one of the hidden cards up his sleeve. He was a bit curious now. How did this strange fire come to be? One has to know that there are many types of strange fires, but there was a need to meet certain requirements for each type to form. The most common type of strange fire was, of course, those born in the depths of a volcano. But there were also some special types of strange fires that were born within cold places, or even within freezing ice. These were known as flames of ice, and they had the ability to freeze living things to death. But what about this place? Ling Han could not think of any conditions here that would induce the birth of a strange fire, aside from this corpse in front of him. This corpse had been an ultimate warrior of Shattering Void tier when he was alive. Could it be that an ultimate warrior of Shattering Void tier was even able to form strange fires? Ling Han pondered in his thoughts, though his eyes were still fixed upon that strange fire wavering in front of him, thinking of how he might be able to make the strange fire his own. If he still had the cultivation level of Heaven tier, then there would naturally be no problem. He would only need to dominate it by force, but with his current cultivation level of the 6th layer of Element Gathering tier, if he dared to attempt to take it by force, the most likely scenario would be being burnt to ashes. Little fire, come, come, come. You'll stay with me from now on. Ling Han acted like he was calling over a little puppy. The strange fire continued to morph into various shapes and ignored him completely. That was natural. How could the strange fire be able to understand human language? Ling Han gritted his teeth. If he used divine sense, he would be able to skip over using mere words to communicate with the strange fire. But the problem was, did he dare to use his divine sense to come into contact with that strange fire? The might of the strange fire was more than enough to completely burn his divine sense to ashes. At least, the first level of cultivation technique of the Invincible Heaven Scroll did not include a method to heal one's divine sense. But to just give up the strange fire like this was not something he could do. He thought furiously, and suddenly came up with an idea. Could he ask the Black Tower for help? He had a feeling that the level of the Black Tower was above even this ultimate warrior of Shattering Void tier. So it should be able to dominate over this strange fire. The problem was that although the Black Tower was currently staying in his body, it definitely had the character of a boss, and usually more or less ignored him. Would it actually help him? Let's give it a try. He used his divine sense to move the Black Tower, yet Master Black was completely unmoved and ignored him. Ling Han was not the slightest bit discouraged and continued to use his divine sense to harass the Black Tower. He had already witnessed it once before. The Black Tower was not an inanimate object. Finally, the Black Tower gave a light quiver and emitted a shockwave. He did not feel anything from this shockwave, but there appeared even more shattered seals on the bones of the corpse, completely unable to withstand the shockwave from the Black Tower. The strange fire looked like it was a little girl that had received a huge fright. It suddenly shrank into itself and was trembling. Ling Han's heart moved and beckoned the strange fire over. A surprising scene happened. The strange fire actually leaped into his hand. What was even more surprising was the fact that Ling Han did not feel any bit of scalding heat on his hand. The strange fire indeed had its own spirit. Ling Han bravely communicated with the strange fire, using his divine sense to transmit his thoughts over, and said, "Little guy, you stay with me from now on, and I will find even more strange fires and let you all fuse together to finally become the most powerful flame of this world." Using divine sense to transmit ideas was a communication method that surpassed the limitations of language and race any existence with consciousness would be able to understand. Yi-ya-ya, yi-ya-ya. The strange fire transmitted a blurry thought, like it was an infant just learning how to speak, so it was very indistinct. Ling Han finally understood. Though this strange fire had developed its own consciousness, its intelligence was too low, as if it was a newborn baby. Kids should be very easily duped, right? Ling Han emitted a kind aura, allowing the strange fire enough time to think things through. In truth, he was not lying. In the future, if he encountered a strange fire again, he would definitely make a move and continue to fuse the strange fires he managed to obtain together, increasing the might of the strange fire. In this world, all living creatures have an instinctive desire to become stronger and closer to perfection. The strange fire was no exception. It was unable to cultivate, but it was able to fuse with other strange fires to increase its own intelligence and might. Ling Han did not rush things and continued to communicate with the strange fire. He had the confidence that the strange fire would eventually agree, because the Black Tower had just displayed its might, allowing the strange fire to feel that he was a man with power. A talented person would choose a good master to serve, as the saying goes. The intelligence of the strange fire was still at a simple level, and could be described as extremely innocent. Thus, if there was a need for it to choose a master, then the first thing it would consider would be the strength of its master. It was all right, even if Ling Han's cultivation level wasn't very high, as long as the Black Tower was awesome enough. Yi-ya-ya! Yi-ya-ya! The strange fire transmitted blurry thoughts, and all of a sudden disappeared into Ling Han's palm, and like a drop of water sinking into sand, it was immediately absorbed and entered Ling Han's body. Ling Han had never obtained a strange fire before, but in his last life, he had managed to acquire the correct method on how to refine and absorb it, and so was not unfamiliar with the next step. Now that the strange fire was in his body, he had two choices. The first choice was to refine the strange fire and erase its intelligence, transforming it into pure energy to nurture and strengthen himself. The second was to fuse with the strange fire and preserve its intelligence, something like making his body the new residence of the strange fire. For a martial artist, they would definitely choose the first option without any bit of hesitation. But how could Ling Han break his word, even if it was one given to a strange fire? Moreover, he still needed to concoct alchemical pills, so naturally, the best option was to preserve the strange fire intact. He fused with the strange fire, and the little guy was coiled in Ling Han's left hand, fusing with Ling Han's soul. The Black Tower lightly trembled, possessing the might to dominate over everything, allowing the process to be exceptionally smooth. After a mere half an hour, the fusion process was complete. Ling Han's eyes snapped open. He stretched open his left hand, and a raging red flame burnt upon his palm. Yet this was not something powered by his origin power, but rather came from the strange fire. Yi-ya-ya! The strange fire also emitted delighted thoughts, seeming to be very pleased with Ling Han's body. Go! Ling Han waved his left hand, and the strange fire instantly left his hand. With a mental command from him, it began to continuously dance and move around on the ground. He beckoned his hand again, and the strange fire flew back to him and once again disappeared into his left hand. Ha! Now my battle prowess has gotten another upgrade. With the raging flames of the strange fire, I'd be able to kill even spiritual ocean tier martial artists. What more mere gushing spring tier? However, how to get near them is a problem. No one would be foolish enough to allow the strange fire to get near them. However, if I allow the strange fire to coil around my fists or around the blade of my sword, then when others underestimate me due to their own carelessness, there is a real possibility I'd be able to kill them right on the spot. Hey, then let's just see who would be so unfortunate. Ling Han looked once more at the corpse. Due to the several shock waves emanating from the Black Tower, more and more broken seals were appearing on the bones, and the golden characters were no longer identifiable, making him feel a strong regret. That was the martial intent of a powerful warrior of shattering void tier. Forget it. I'm being too greedy, Ling Han said. My gains this time are already indescribably colossal, and what use would the martial intent of an ultimate warrior of Shattering Void tier be to me now? I am able to soar smoothly all the way to Heaven tier in the first place. Now the problem is, how do I get out of here?